Hello guys, my name is Jeff Puckett and this is my presentation of my city, Santa Rosa, California. And I'm going to give you some information about it. So here's a map of Santa Rosa, California. As you can see in the pink areas, it shows the entire extent. Also, something to mention is that Santa Rosa is the capital of Sonoma County here in Northern California. So some of the things I'll be discussing in this slideshow is going to be population, race, gender, age distributions, income levels, crime, education levels, religions, and then from there we're going to discuss the differences between good community and bad community. So with the population, we're right around 175,586, give or take probably 100 or so. It's primarily Caucasian. The white population consists of almost 70%, with Asian population about 5.5%. The African American population 2.5%. Native American almost 2%. Hawaiian and Islander is less than 1%. Combination of mixed races is almost 7%, and races that were not mentioned are right around 15%. So when it comes to gender distributions here in Santa Rosa, females take the lead, but not by very much. They've got about a 4% lead on the males. And age distributions in our area, as you can see from my chart, 65 and older, they are almost 16% of the population. 19 to 64 is more than half of the population, and then 18 and under is almost 30%, not quite. So as you can see, though, adulthood is the leading majority here. The households and income levels, that's a really tough one. I mean, I've got some information on it, but that's one downside to living out here, is that it's so expensive. Ever since the fires 2 years ago here in Northern California, all you see is the cost of rent and house market values just plummeting, or not plummeting, but skyrocketing. The median household income is right around $67,000. And that's about a 7% growth since 2018. Our poverty rate is getting higher. It's now near 12%. Of the 175,000 people here, about 85,000, almost 86,000 people are employed. The median property values, which this is a significant growth, just in the last year, it's jumped almost 11%. From $458,500. The crime rates here. So when I was looking this up, they showed us an index, and they said that 0 is the worst place ever and 100 being the safest. We rank a 26, so we're pretty low on the scale in regards to safety. And there's a lot going on. There's different reasons for that. San Francisco has been pushing out a lot of their homeless and their criminal and whatnot out of their community. And when they get pushed out, they tend to come into this area. So we're seeing an influx of people coming in that are homeless, have no money, and resort to crime. The chances of becoming a victim here in Santa Rosa for a violent crime is 1 out of every 242 people, and for property crime is 1 out of every 52 people. The crime rate in Santa Rosa is considerably higher than the national average across all communities in America, from largest to smallest. Although at 23 crimes per 1,000 residents, it is not among the communities with the very highest crime rate. So says Neighborhood Scout. For education, I was a little taken aback by this. So less than a high school education falls within 14% of the adult population. Actually, finishing high school is about 20%. Some college, that leaves right around 25%. Completed associate's degree is 9%. A bachelor's degree is 20%. And then anything beyond that falls into the 12% category, which I was really surprised to see that, with us being so close to so many universities and colleges and whatnot. The leading job forces here tend to fall to healthcare and social assistance. just like I am, working with social work. Retail is the next popular one. And manufacturing, that one's really, it's really increased quite a bit over the last few years as they're opening up more manufacturing areas and whatnot. One big thing I don't think they take into account, because a lot of them are not citizens out here from the Santa Rosa area, is construction. Because of the fires 2 years ago, there is a big portion that is still under construction and is nowhere near completed. But because we were so short on those kind of workers, people were coming up here from all around the globe or all around the country. But I don't think that was taken into account because they weren't actually residents out here. For religious denominations, 35.9% of the population claim to be religious. 23% of that population are Catholic. Almost 3% are of Christian faith. Almost 2% are from the Church of Jesus Christ. Almost 2% are of Eastern faith. About 1% are Baptist. 1% Lutheran. 1% Methodist. Almost 1% for Presbyterian. 0.7% for Pentecostal. 0.5% for Islam. Almost 0.5% for Judaism, and almost 0.5% for Episcopalian. Which I was really surprised by that. I didn't realize that our population was so encompassed around the Catholic religion. I figured it would have been much more varied. Community institutions that have made a big impact here in the area and that are constantly contributing back to the society. County of Sonoma, the governmental department. Like I mentioned before, we are the capital of Sonoma County, so we see a lot more assistance that starts here, bleeds out, starts to give to the community, and then kind of branches out to other areas of the county. Kaiser Permanente is really big out here. I think we have almost 7 different facilities within maybe 20-30 mile radius. The Santa Rosa Junior College is really big. And they are constantly giving back to the community and whatnot. Redwood Empire Food Bank. Now, that's a big one. They are definitely helpful, not only in my profession, where I work with seniors, and this is all throughout the county, but they are so helpful with so many populations throughout. Catholic Charities is a big organization that's all about donating and fundraising and whatnot. And then there's the Charles Schulz Museum and Research Center. And as many of you know, Charles Schulz was the creator of Snoopy and the rest of the Peanut Gang. He was from out here, and so he gave back a lot of his assets to the community because he was so proud to be a part of this area. When it comes to good community assessment, I kind of weighed out the pros and cons. So for the aspects of good community, there's an abundance of health resources. It's strongly encouraged for higher education. Not that it's met, but it is encouraged. There's a lot of community involvement. We have high rates of police and EMS response. The weather is beautiful out here for the most part. And we have positive community interrelationships where everybody kind of gets together for one main goal and they're able to put their differences aside. And something big about this is that we've encountered many disasters. And as some of you know, just this last week, our area was hit really hard by another wildfire that was created, caused by PG&E. And then we went through huge blackouts. We were without power for, I think, 6 days. But when things like this happen, our community comes together really well. You know, we recently had a school shooting at the high school. We've had earthquakes, we've had fires, we've had floods, we've had all kinds of things. And everybody pulls together and helps one another, which is really nice. It adds to the good community aspect. And it's a very accepting community. So, you know, whether it be race, religion, sexual identity, whatever, I have not noticed any issues with segregation, with hate, with anything of the sort. Not that it doesn't exist, it just hasn't happened yet. For the bad community aspects, cost of housing and rent is ridiculously high. The freeway, it's heavy traffic, heavy congestion, a lot of road work going on, which is great in a sense because hopefully road work will lead to bigger lanes, you know, or bigger freeways and whatnot. The natural disasters that keep happening out here, that adds to the bad community side. We're seeing an increase in crime. Poverty levels and low income is increasing significantly, which is really sad. There's very high rates of homelessness out here. And we're starting to notice an increase in gang activity as well. So, is it a good community? I truly believe that as mentioned, no community is perfect. And we are far from perfect, but I do think we sway more towards the good community side, especially after surviving the many disasters that have come our way. We pull together really well and we make happen what needs to happen. The community cohesion, as I mentioned, pursuit to empower and improve the community and the population at large. We constantly adapt a positive attitude. Um, and like I said, community disaster preparedness, we're getting better. This fire was bigger than the one 2 years ago, and I don't think any lives were lost this time, whereas last time I believe it was close to 200. We're getting really good at addressing community concerns as they're brought to the table. We don't ignore them. And then there's constant community reinvestment and support, which is very nice to see. Things I would change about this community is lowering the housing cost. It's so sad to see a family, both parents working for minimum wage, and they can't even afford to pay rent. It's just so ridiculously priced out here. Um, and these same people are on the streets with their children, homeless and working, And so something else I'd like to see is a homeless transitional program that's implemented to help get them back on their feet, help educate them, help move them in the right direction to secure good jobs and to afford housing. Um, Substance abuse is a big issue. I'd like to see an increase in programs that cater to that. The freeway and traffic congestion, it'd be nice to see our freeway expanded to where traffic isn't so overwhelmingly bad. I'd love to see more low-income housing in the areas so that, people can afford to make a living and survive. An idea that's kind of taking off all around the nation, and slowly it's happening here, is the tiny home neighborhoods. And we just opened one, and it was for veterans, which is great. And I'd love to see veterans getting the assistance they need, but it needs to not stop at just veterans. We need to be reaching out in a much more bigger scale to help so many that are struggling and barely making it. And I'd like to see an increase in community involvement, as well as the encouragement of community involvement, and that's things like neighborhood watch, volunteer programs, or even encouraging anonymous reporting. When you see something, say something, and that way it can be addressed as soon as possible. So that's everything that I have on my report. As you can see, here's all my references. It was actually a lot of fun. I've only been living in Santa Rosa for about 4 months now, but I've been in Sonoma County over a year. And so it was really awesome to kind of do this research and get to know my community much better than just what I see with my eye. So thank you for watching and listening, and have a great day.